this week. And this is part of our creative thinking series, 4-part series. Last time we talked about barriers to creativity. And so welcome everyone. So the format of this program is experiential and interactive, with a combination of practical exercises and fun-filled games. And the whole idea of this, through this activity, we learn to think different, we become more creative. And this creativity is one of the top skills in this world right now, because with the advancement of technology, people who can think different, that will become the comparative advantage. So that's why we're doing this program. The program outline in general, there are one part of the program is about becoming creative and innovative. Then the second part of the program is about getting ideas across. The third program part is getting ideas accepted. And then the transformation roadmap, how do we do that? So this is just a brief intro. And now I open the program and welcome Mubashir. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
What's going on in UK today? How's the weather?
Weather is good. It's a little bit cloudy, and we are still in pandemic, so a little bit exercising a little bit of caution and exercise, being cautious as well. But all good, all good.
All good. Okay. And Hamad, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Good, good, good. So we're looking forward for your interaction in this program as usual. So feel free to jump in and join.
Yeah.
Saeed, Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Very good, very good. So how's the weather over there, like by your side?
At my side, at Pakistan, weather is somehow pleasant.
Pleasant.
Not cold or not somehow pleasant.
Perfect weather.
Okay. Good weather here.
Good weather. Okay.
Perfect weather. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Okay. All right. So Mubashir, enhancing creativity. Can you enhance creativity? Is it possible? Because you're born creative or you're born dumb. This is what I think in creativity.
It's a very good question. It's nature versus nurture, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm born dumb, man. Tell me about creativity.
This is the battle lines are drawn. Creativity is a skill, and like any skill, some people may be good at it. Some people may be able to acquire it quickly. Some people may be born with somewhat disposition towards it, but with practice, just like any skill, it can be improved, it can be enhanced, and also with lack of practice, people could lose the skill. It's like the muscle. The more you exercise the muscle, the better, the more powerful, more flexible that muscle becomes.
Okay.
So yeah, it can be enhanced. I see Dyson's photo here. We talked about Dyson's story in the last session as well as an example of creative thinker, but not only just a thinker, as an innovator. And main thing from that lesson, as I remember, the takeaway was that you have to be consistent and persistent in following your dreams and seeing them through, regardless of barriers and difficulties that you encounter. Dyson, as an innovator, invented a few very interesting, really new ways of doing things, interesting innovations. And in the process also got excellent rewards, became one of the richest people in UK. But more importantly, his innovations speak for themselves.
Right. I think it's interesting. But when we talk about creativity and this word creativity on demand. How do we get into this mode of creativity? Because a lot of times I find myself, um, like, for example, when I take a walk in the evening, sometimes I find a lot of ideas coming to me. And sometimes when I'm sitting and maybe watching TV, there's my mind is totally dead. There's nothing coming to my mind. But so what is this creativity on demand? How can we get into this mode of creativity, Mubashir?
That's $1 million question, because quite often in organizations, and also in group work, etc., suddenly the boss guy says, right, you must come up with a creative idea in the next 15 minutes or in the next however many days. And essentially it's like open the tap for creativity, and suddenly creativity, innovation, ideas would start flowing. The thing is that it's not a normal experience for most of the people. People feel pressured to become creative. They tend not to actually become creative because there is a causal link, there is a connection between creativity and joyfulness, happiness, about being relaxed and thinking a little bit more, not under pressure, but more in terms of, enjoying the process. So this is where research has some really interesting insights to offer. The technical term for it in psychology is like positive affirmation. And what it is essentially is that if we feel more creative, if we can be more creative demonstratively, based on the evidence, based on data that has been gleaned from experiments, where creativity is enhanced each time we are in a playful mode, or in a playful mood, where we are relaxed, where we are enjoying the process, then that means that if we can inverse the process where we put ourselves in that happy mood, in our happy place, presumably then the creativity would start becoming active as well. More creativity, more ideas, more interesting insights would come. So this is where the recommendation is that people can tap into creativity on demand. And how you do it is by thinking of something that makes you happy, something that you can easily imagine. For some people, it could be having a nice cup of tea in their armchair. For others, it could be just having a really interesting, I don't know, walking outside the door and looking at the sky, blue sky, fresh air, and suddenly for some others, it could be at late night or early hours of the morning, in the morning. Whatever it is, find where your most relaxed, most playful, most joyous self, enjoyment self is present, and then enable that with the affirmation or connectivity. So each time you are able to just think of that state, you can put yourself into a specific mindset. And that's what the positive affirmation does, by enabling consistency and reliability of creative process. By thinking of your positive moments, the happy place that we can call it, and believing deep down that there are many possibilities, multiple options, and knowing that I can do it. That's an important part, because psychologically, when we have a positive affirmation, positive confirmation of our abilities, then our mind is kind of very interesting programmable device. Whatever we feed into it, it's going to start moving in that direction. It cannot have contradiction or cross intersection with the programming that we feed into it. And therefore, by putting in this programming in our mind that I know there are multiple options available, different solutions available, then it would start generating those solutions for us. And finally, being bold, taking actions, because ideas are plenty, but unless something is done for those ideas, nothing happens. It's very important to convert ideas into something useful and take it forward.
No, very good. It's it's a process, and I fully agree with you. And this affirmation is telling ourselves, and we talked about this in our mindset series, the how the conscious mind and the subconscious mind work. Because if some idea is coming to you on the conscious side, there's a filter before you take action. It goes to the subconscious mind, and subconscious mind is programmed already. So there is a very deep programming at the subconscious level where it will filter, it will stop you from maybe taking action. So this affirmation is, I fully agree, this is very beautifully put together, Mubashir. uh, so affirmation is important, but let's talk some more. Let's maybe take an example of this. How do we think, and how can we maybe stretch our mind? So Moshe, walk us through this exercise. I know this is a very interesting exercise. You're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, this is a very interesting exercise where the key thing is that we tend to become so fixated about looking at things in one particular way. In the last session, we talked about fixedness, the rigidity of our mind, like we are going in tracks only, and the tracks are not allowing us to move right or left. It's just fixed way of looking at things and fixed way of approaching issues and thinking about them. So this exercise essentially is a new lens exercise, and you will see shortly that it's going to ask us to think about some of the things in a different way. The need for or requirement for this exercise is that you need to have a pencil or pen and a piece of paper, because shortly I'm going to ask you to write something. So if you all have a piece of paper and pencil, let me know, we can move forward. Yeah, I think
Okay.
everybody has it. So yeah.
Yeah, ready.
Okay. So uh, let me see if I can move it forward.
Here you go.
Naman, can I have control, please? Yeah. Okay. So basically, what I would like you to do is to think of, we have an object. We have in this case a common brick, and think of it. You are seeing it through a new piece, a new lens. You are thinking of different uses for the common brick. When I say go, you need to start writing as many possible uses of the common brick as you can think of. You might wish to think about what are its characteristics, what can we change, how or what new uses can be found with the change. Okay, so ready for it? Ready, steady, go. 60 seconds. Write down as many uses as possible of a common brick.
My mind is stopping after.
That's where it is interesting. If you can push through and think about the uses that you can come up with, regardless of after the first few, that's where new and interesting uses would come to you. Okay, think about what you can use it for. What are the physical characteristics of the object? Think about what can you do by changing any of these aspects, characteristics. And you would probably get the first few very quickly, because that's what we have seen bricks being used for. But then I want you to push forward and think of new uses, new objectives. Okay, 10 seconds. Okay, and 3, 2, 1, 0. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Quick question. How many of you have written, and as I said, the objective was to write as many as possible. So how many have written more than 5 uses? Did everybody reach 5 or more?
I have 6.
You have 6. Very good. Saeed, Ghazanfar?
I have more than, sorry, less than 5.
Less
How
than 5.
many? Less than 5 is okay. How many did you get?
Around 2.
Okay, and Ghazanfar, you? I think Ghazanfar's mic might not be working, so that's all right. You can type it in and we can read your comments in the chat side as well, so that's all right. Okay, so what about you, Noman? Did you try it?
I tried, yes. I did 6.
Excellent. Let's start with Saeed, please. Saeed, what are the key things that you could think about?
I think we can use it to create a building,
I have this.
and we can use it to create, you can say, I couldn't to say to, sorry.
To do what? Create building and?
Create building and, sorry, slip of tongue.
Okay. Hamad, over to you. What uses did you come up with?
I came up with homes, buildings. This was my first guess. Then the second thing I came up with is storage. Like if you can make water tanks and or store wheat or stuff like that, make it a surrounding and storage area or something like that.
Okay.
Then I have you can make park benches and stuff like that. Common thing that's normally made of steel, aluminum, and stuff like that. You can make it a bench or make it in a. It's going to be uncomfortable, but I. Then I came up with something called liquid bricks.
Okay.
You have a mold and you have a liquid or something that and just put that in the mold. Like if you got a wall, you need to build a wall. You just have 2 planks or something on the sides and then just pour liquid on it and like cement, but I call it liquid bricks.
Okay, what else?
And oh yeah, I also had it as blocks, make them into bigger things. Like say for example, you've got bricks it's small, like half a foot or something like that. Combine many bricks together and make it into a block or something. If you need a block to stop,
blocks. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Ghazanfar, are you still able to speak or your mic is still having an issue?
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Ideas?
Yeah, by the brick we can make buildings and building in sense of school, house, offices, and
tell me things that Hamad and Saeed haven't mentioned. So new things other than what they have mentioned, something else.
we can make some boxes, mailbox or some storage box.
Okay, anything else?
It is used for grave.
Oh, gravestones. Okay.
Yeah, gravestones, and it is also can be used as a weapon.
Oh,
that's different.
Weapon.
Yeah,
Oh
weapon.
my goodness me. Okay.
Obviously, we also use it for weapon.
I don't want you. This call is being recorded. You know that, right? So.
No problem. So, and I guess that's all. And yeah, that's all.
Okay, Naman, anything that's not covered, anything different?
I wrote pillow. You can sleep
Pillow.
on it.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said,
Hard pillow.
yeah, I said, you know, when you change the tire, you put like a bunch of these
Bricks behind
bricks,
the car.
yeah,
Yes. So it's
under
a
the
car
car.
stop.
Yeah,
So the car doesn't roll forward or
don't roll
backward.
forward.
Actually, you can put it under the car because sometimes you have it instead of the jack. So the
Yeah,
car is actually sitting on the bricks as well while
right,
you're
right.
doing something behind
I've
it. Yeah.
seen it many times. I've seen it many times.
Car
Um,
support.
you can write from this, like the piece of brick you can use it as a chalk.
Uh-huh. Good. Chalk.
Um,
Excellent.
you can use as a weight. Like I've seen like many in Pakistan, you know, when people have these
Yes. In
1
the
kilo, and then they put like a little brick in there or
yeah,
maybe a stone in there.
as a
So
weight.
I think
Yes.
people can are defined many different things with it.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else?
Um, and there can be, I think, more. Like you can maybe crush this brick and then you can make something out of that. Um, but what is intriguing to me is that these three questions that you wrote here, Mubashir, is what are the characteristics, what can we change, and what new uses can be found with the change. I think the dilemma right now globally with the businesses is this dilemma. It's not the brick, it's the business. Think about this as a business, this brick. And people are stuck in that business, this brick, and the only thing is, okay, Ford can only sell cars.
Yeah.
There's another company who can only make a refrigerator. There is another company who can make only bicycles.
That's
And
true.
this is what they're doing. But by thinking outside of the box and by changing a few different things, I think we can find new ways, and which is very important for the business innovation, because we need business innovation. So I want to connect this to the business innovation, which is one of the key uh, desire, or one of the key um, uh, uh, area, one of the key opportunity that we have, that so to look at things through the new lens. So we have the COVID lens, we have the 2020 lens, we have this 2030 lens, or what new lens can we put? And those are the things which is very interesting for me from this activity.
Yes. So we will come to that in a second. But if you can go to the next slide, please. Basically, what happens here is that there are many different ways and options that allow uses. So you talked about using it as a car stop. So in the lower right corner, I can see as a car stop, and then we can use it as a chalk. Has anybody seen children play on the road where they are skipping and jumping and having fun? And usually they have a little piece of brick with which they draw. How about using bricks as a little library? The books, why not? Outdoor, it's not going to have any effect from rain and sunshine. Stopper for doors or cars, etc. You can use it as a pen holder or pencil holder, or maybe as a candle holder. Some of these photos maybe have a little bit of a little green plant in there. You can use it as a weapon. You can connect it to a thread and you can rotate it and utilize it. You can crush it into powder. You can in some places that is used for good purposes. In other places, unfortunately, people sell that powder as a, I don't know, as a red pepper or something else. But whatever the case might be, if you physically change the characteristic of the object or item, you can find new ways of looking at it and thinking about it. You can split it in a different way, like, horizontally or vertically or across the holes, etc. And the main thing in all of these is it is still that common brick, and that brick wants to be something. It can be in a building, it can be as part of the plant or library. And I'm looking at this central photo where you can put the candles in the brick, but what about the bricks capability of heat absorption and density. If you heat up some bricks during the daytime, you can use the heat component of those during the evening, or maybe you can heat them up through solar energy in very cold weathers in Antarctica or very cold snow snowbound countries. And then those bricks would absorb the heat, and later on they would emit the heat, keeping the humans warm and providing some necessary thermal protection, etc. So basically, think about not what we see, but also what we don't see. The weight of the brick can be used, the shape itself. So you can use it as a centripetal or centrifugal force to do something with it. You can use the heat absorption capability, or maybe the cold absorption capability. Put it on the roofs in very, very hot countries in summer, and then put some water on these bricks. So the brick is cold, and therefore it retains that moisture for some time and absorbs the upcoming heat from the sun, but allows the rooms in the inside to remain colder, and therefore more efficient for air conditioning, or whatever cooling system is being used. Many different ways. We are just using some examples here, and some of those have been mentioned by the participants as well.
Right.
Okay.
I think what is interesting is that this enhancing our creativity and transforming this brick is something which is very, very important at this time. And we're seeing businesses where, like, for example, look at Tesla, what they have done with the car business, with the car industry. And Tesla is valued more than the big three, the big automotive companies alone. Okay. And what they did, the brick that they had was a car. And what they did is they bring in the flavor of electric car, the battery, okay, and make it more luxurious. So a luxury electric car was the model of Tesla, how they started, and now there are many companies are following the same model, and even the traditional companies are following. But the brick, the traditional automotive companies have always had this brick, okay? And why did not they think about different? Why did not think outside of the box and look at that business from a different lens? And this is why companies fail. Look at Kodak. They have a business. They had this. They are in the photo business, but not anymore, because they did not look at their business from a different lens. And I think this is where I think the key is, the lesson that I see from this example, from this activity, is how do we see our business, ourself, our activities from a different lens, and how we can make it maybe more profitable, make it more innovative, and bring more success with that. So that is the whole idea. That's the beauty of this, is this whole idea about innovation, reinvention of something new.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned about the Kodak example, because although they invented the digital camera, they thought, I think perhaps mistakenly, and history has shown that it was a mistake, that they are in the business of film and camera, not in the business of preserving memories.
Right.
And therefore they rejected the digital camera, which was invented by one of their own engineers. Oh no, we can't put film in it, therefore it's not going to be success, it's not going to be useful for us. And then as digital cameras became more prevalent, and then the world changed with the mobile phones having digital cameras, which is always on, always with you, anytime, anywhere, and then instantaneously can be switched on and then shared, which is also very important. Then Kodak went out of business. We mentioned about Tesla here, which is really a good example, that if we are thinking, if we are some of the big companies, and we are always thinking that our product, our service, our solution is creating metal cages on wheels, then somebody else is going to come and overcome and overtake us, unintended. Whereas if we think about the businesses enabling people to move seamlessly, frictionlessly from one place to the other, then you are in business. That reminds me of Zipcar and some of these other innovations where you don't even have to own a car. You can just walk to a car, just open it with your code and drive to wherever else, and then do your business and leave the car wherever. And so basically the ability to be mobile from one point to the other is a totally different mindset. It's a new lens looking at the old thing. Okay, so if we can move forward. Right. Just in case somebody has missed it, when I did this exercise, here also somebody mentioned use it as a weapon, murder weapon, tie it to a dead body. People, can I just say this categorically? Exercise purpose here is not to come up with new ways of murdering people and disposing of bodies. It's creative thinking for the betterment of humanity. So please don't come up with very dangerous ideas. Okay. So the interesting thing I want to point out, here is a little interactive exercise. NASA did this experiment with children, right? They went on and created a little test and experiment to find out how many 4 to 5 year old think that they are imaginative and they are actually coming up with new ideas or imagination. So I want to do a very quick, unmute yourself, just mention, what do you think NASA found? How many percent of children at the age of 4 to 5 are imaginative? And we will post the links to the actual study afterwards in the Innovation Dance WhatsApp group. Please join in if you haven't. But yeah, how many people, what do you think? Children, 4 to 5, imaginative. Go on, shout it out.
90% plus,
90%.
19 above.
Anybody else?
20%.
How many?
20%.
20%. Okay. Any other suggestions, ideas?
I say
Right.
they're highly creative, 90%.
90%. Okay. Anything from Hamza or Saeed?
I think 30%.
Okay. So for some reason, my remote control mechanism is not working. Let me see if I can request that from Numan. Okay. So the answer is NASA's result was that they are 98% genius level. Okay. So, oops, I think it's running ahead a little bit. So 98% are genius level creative. When children are 10-year-old, what's the percentage, do you think?
I would say creativity decreases over age.
Okay. And anybody else? Just venture a guess.
Less than 50.
Okay.
In that case, then it should be 90%.
It's 30%. They found that at age 10, children are 30% creative.
That's a huge
A
decrease.
huge, big jump, 68%. When they are at age 15, how much is the creativity? Answer, 12%. And finally, they went back, but the teachers were so depressed, they didn't want to do this testing anymore. But NASA had a good organization. They had a good solution. A lot of people were applying to join NASA. So they conducted this test at the age of 31. How many do you think were creative at age 31?
10%.
Only 5%.
4%.
Okay.
4%, 3%, 3 to 4%.
Guesses, but it is 2%. So look at this, from 98% drop to 2%. So what actually happened? The answer is schooling. What happens is that basically in schools, we are told to think about some solution, but also provide a reason why it wouldn't work. think divergently, but also convergently at the same time, as in open thinking, but closed thinking. And you cannot have both at the same time. It is like driving a car with the accelerator and brake pressed at the same time. It's just not a very conducive way of being thoughtful. The schools teach us all the pluses and the minuses and etc. of anything, whereas children don't think that way. For them, anything and everything is possible. I gave an example previously as well, that a teacher to a very young, like 4 or 5 year olds, gave a drawing task. And when she went to the back of the class, she asked Emily, who was 5 years old. This is, by the way, from Sir Ken Robinson's fantastic talk on YouTube. She asked, "What are you drawing, Emily?" And she says, "I am drawing God." And she was surprised, the teacher. She said that, "Well, nobody has seen how God looks like." And Emily said, "They will know how he looks like in a minute. I'm finishing my drawing." For children, there is no inhibition, right? Another very famous thing I sometimes mention is that for the first 5 years of my life, I learned how to walk and how to talk. And for the rest of my life, I was told to shut up and sit down. When the
Yeah.
schools have this kind of teaching environment, or where they breed conformity, everybody should think in the same kind of way, then that results in reduction in creativity and creative thinking. And it is as a result, there has been a lot of research done, and it is shown very, very strongly that creativity increases when you have joy and fun and playfulness, when you are having, when you are doing observation and curiosity, and you are thinking, I wonder why this is, or I wonder what would happen if, oh, this is interesting, how can we make use of so and so and so. Here is another interesting story, right? um, Alexander Fleming, the inventor of penicillin, was invited after he was kind of famous for his results and etc. He was invited to visit a new lab, and he was visiting this lab, which was all nice and shiny and bright, and clean surfaces, everything sealed. And he had a little smile, and the director of the lab said, "Why are you laughing, smiling?" He said that penicillin would never have been discovered in this lab. What happened was that when Alexander was, sorry, was it Fleming? When he was experimenting with some petri dishes, some mold from outside flew in and contaminated one of his experimental dishes. And he found that around that mold, the bacteria had died. Instead of throwing the mold, he was curious to find out why is the color changing. So he looked at it under the microscope and found out that bacteria was dying around it, and it was a natural antibiotic. And he then extracted that, and it resulted in saving millions and millions of lives over a period of time. But if he had thrown it away, if he wasn't curious, if he wasn't observing what's happening, I wonder what's happening. This is funny. Why is there a little ring around the mold in my petri dish? Penicillin would never have been discovered. Right. So here is another very interesting story I want to tell you, which is fake it till you make it, the concept of pretotypes. Essentially, well, in the 80s, IBM was dominating the PC market. They had lots and lots of PCs and offices. And one of the major uses of the personal computer was that the executives would get their letters typed by, they would dictate those letters, and then the receptionist or typist, professional typist, would type those up for them. The secretaries would type them up. But those secretaries, those professional typists were an expensive resource and scarce resource. So IBM came up with the idea that what if we create something that allows you to speak into a microphone that results in speech to text, technology, converting your spoken word into the text. However, the computers weren't strong enough at that time, weren't powerful enough, and the software and the artificial intelligence wasn't advanced that level. They would have to invest quite a lot of money to create the necessary solutions around it. In any case, in 1988, I think it was in late 1980s, at the one of the exhibitions, they showcased the new fantastic technology where you can there was a computer with a screen and a microphone, but no keyboard. You would come in the booth, you will speak into the microphone, and after a few seconds, the computer would recognize what you have spoken and put it on the screen. So people tried it and they were amazed and they were really, it was fantastic. In reality, what was happening was that IBM hadn't invented new hardware for it. It hadn't created new software. All they did was connect the microphone to another booth a few steps down, where a receptionist was or a secretary was putting on a headphone on her ears, and she was listening to whatever was being said, and she was typing it, which was then shown on the screen in the first booth. This was a fantastic way of testing the market. This is known as pretotype rather than a prototype. Prototype you may have heard of. Prototype is how can this be built. Pretotype is why should this be done or why should this be built, right? So by doing this kind of pretotype, IBM found out a ton of very, very valuable data and insights. For example, they found out that although on paper, it makes so much sense to make this technology and invest millions of dollars in it, but in reality, people are not that keen on it because, first of all, they find that when they are typing, for example, with one finger or slowly, they are thinking more. When they have to speak about it, it's actually not allowing them to think that way. Also, for anything confidential, it's not a good way. If you are talking and somebody else hears it, that's not a useful aspect. And also some of them were saying that the accent and there were so many different challenges in it. But instead of spending a lot of money, IBM found out all about it by doing a pretotype. Can anybody think of any other examples in your lives or workplace where you were able to find out end user behavior or how people would engage with what you are suggesting by kind of faking it till you had enough data to know if it was worth doing? Any examples? No? It's all right. You might not have encountered it. It's not a compulsory thing, but it's a very, very useful, very powerful tool. And there are other examples as well. I mean, if you want to know, would people buy your book? All you need to do is really to print a cover of your book and put it on another book and then put it in a bookshelf in the shop and see how many people actually pick that up based on the cover and look at the front and the back. They will open it up. They wouldn't know initially that it's not your book or not, but you can see if people are going to even pick it up or not in that way. And there are other examples that I will post on the WhatsApp group about how people go about pretotyping it, finding out, pretending that the solution works when it doesn't exist in order to find out what would people do. Would they use it? Would they buy it? Would they be interested in it enough to make sure that subsequent investment in innovation is done? Noman, any thoughts from you on this?
No, I think it's about stretching your mind and thinking outside of the box. So we have some more material that we thought we are gonna cover, but we're almost out of time here. So I think when creating ideas, few thoughts: quantity over quality. So a lot of why not make a lot of ideas, do some experimentation, avoid fixedness. We talked about fixedness in the last program. Having a positive environment, encouragement. and writing maybe or defining multiple ideas. And one of the key ones is it's okay to make mistakes in these ideas. Um, what I like to open, because we were going to talk about some tools that you can use. There's a number of tools, for example, design thinking, SIT, SIT, TRIZ, Scamper, a lot of tools that help you, that guides you, facilitate you to develop creativity. Um, but I like to skip over this. We'll maybe cover maybe another program. Um, and I like to open the conversation to everyone. Um, and you'll see a lot of this, that people are going to tell you you're wrong. When you're creative, people are going to see you're wrong. So what are your experiences when you were creative, or when you were doing something outside of the box? When you maybe want to do something, maybe choose a career which is not a traditional career. I want to listen from everyone here. Hamad, what do you think? Is becoming creative is easy for you? Was that easy for you to do what you want to do?
I think it's inherent, or I think everyone thinks that creative types, or they call people who are creative types, and they go into arts and stuff like that. But they are the creative types, and not everyone can do it. So if you're not the creative type, then if you have a new idea, it might not be good. It might not be worth investing time or money or something like that. And so we are discouraged from on onset. If you're not the creative type, don't go on tangents or anything like that. Uh, that's what I think.
Razanfer, what do you think?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, in my opinion, that it varies from location to location, because in Pakistan this is very hard to become a creative mind, because in Pakistan you cannot ask some questions even with your parents or with your teachers. So that's a problem. So if you ask any question to your teacher, they will say it is just as God wish. So why you are complaining and why you are asking? So in that situation, you cannot be a creative mind. And I don't know that in other countries, Western or Europe, I don't know how they become a creative mind. If they ask a questions and they got a satisfied answer, then it is easy for them to become a creative mind. But the second thing, that this is not totally the situation in Pakistan, to not getting answers of the questions, but also because of your situation, because of your financial situation, because of your uh, time schedule, there are many more factors. So all that cannot be covered become a creative mind.
Hmm. Very interesting. No. What do you think, Saeed? Do you agree with what Ghazanfer is saying?
Yeah, I totally agree with Zanfar sir, because I have faced a real time scenario in my university. Uh, there was a question in my uh, university course, digital electronics. When I asked a question from my teacher, there is a NAND and NOR gate. These are the universal gates, and we can make all of the other digital gates from these universal gates. Uh, so preferably in market, we can use they use the NAND gate only. So I I asked from the teacher why they prefer to use to NAND gate, but people my teacher was so angry with me. Even they blocked my they my they even they and they are cutting my the marks, and
Oh,
they
wow.
so many other hurdles also. My gold medal was also missed due to that that question. So these are the some practicalities, and these are some real time scenarios in Pakistan as well. So this creativity, I think, should start from the your learning environment and your university level or your school level. So it may it may cause hurdle in your creative process, and somehow.
Right. This is a good conversation. So maybe some places is more difficult to be creative, um, and some places maybe less. But the challenge is always present. When you come up with a new idea, the first thing what people say is, "Oh, you're wrong. Or this will never work." So I want you to maybe go back to the mindset programs that we did, because that's where the mindset plays. That's the most important, because innovation and the mindset goes hand in hand. How do you think? If you are thinking with a fixed mindset, innovation will not work, and a lot of people are fixed mindsets. But if you have a growth mindset in which you think like, okay, I will take one step, I will learn, build upon that, and I will take another step. And this requires obviously courage, that yeah, you tell, okay, no, this is my idea, I want to do it. So you need to have like we said, like, let's go through our um, uh, 5 steps of journey to excellence. Dream. This idea is like your dream, if you think about it. uh, so you need to have this dream, you have to think about this. Then second one is the courage. You need to have the courage to say, okay, I'm going to do it. Number 3 is focus. You need to think, okay, when I'm going to start, I'm going to start small. Okay. Number 4 is execute, the discipline to execute. I'm going to execute, I'm going to work on it. And number 5 is perseverance, be consistent. So they are very connected, these things. um, and if you are um, if people tell you, okay, your idea will not work, and you go home and sleep, you will never become Jim Dyson, you will never become um, Jeff Bezos, you will never become Bill Gates, or you will never become anybody who we see, because these people were creative, they have an idea, but they have the courage to follow through. And that's what I say. Mubashir, what are your thoughts on this topic? It's very important topic here.
No, no, absolutely. The mindset is important. And we covered not only mindset, but also the role of constraints. And we have some research which shows that actually more creativity happens in some constraints, but not very excessive. So sometimes you might find that actually constraints is not such a bad thing to have, because it allows breakthrough creativity to happen within limits. You can't have creativity if there is no oxygen in the room at all. But generally speaking, so yeah, I totally appreciate what everybody's saying, and how mindset plays a great role in overcoming difficulties. When I was in US, as part of our Babson course, the professor, the lecturer in our leadership studies program gave us a little DVD to watch, a little program. It was a US program called Prison Break, as part of our leadership studies. So I would suggest that people should have maybe if you are into watching TV, have a look at Prison Break, to see how somebody can have creativity and teamwork using their mindset and power in an extremely restricted environment in a prison, still be able to do what they were trying to achieve. Really interesting study in human dynamics and power of mindset.
Right, right. Okay, all right. So we're all set here. Thanks for coming today, and we have another program, first week of November, the first Saturday of November, that we will do, again, continuing this conversation on creativity, because this is so important for everyone, for all of us, that we think outside of the box, because the people, companies, communities, countries who are thinking outside of the box, they are winning. That's a fact. They are winning and they will continue to win. So that's why the creativity, innovation, thinking different is so important. So with that, I close the session. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.